What is happening, Magnusites? We got to break down the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. I need this. I need to understand this because we might have some variants going on. Some people are saying, oh, nah, he ain't going to really die. What's going to happen is one of the variants is going to die. We shall see.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder. We just got a new trailer for Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, and it did not disappoint in the slightest. We got a very good look at Kang the Conqueror, who is not only going to be the main villain of Ant-Man 3, but also the main villain of this entire multiverse saga. So this is going to be the big bad of the MCU for the next few years. Much like Thanos was for the Infinity Saga, Kang is the villain for the multiverse saga. And Ant-Man is when we are really going to get introduced to the true Kang the Conqueror for the very first time. We did meet a variant of Kang in Loki, He Who Remains, and he said that if Loki and Sylvie killed him, his variants were coming, and he said that they were much more evil. And as we can tell from this trailer, they absolutely are. So in this breakdown of the new Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania trailer, we'll talk a lot about Kang, but also talk about all the very important details that you need to know to understand everything that is happening in this trailer and in the film. Also, if you're new to the channel and you love Marvel, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. So much like the first trailer that we got, it opens up with Scott Lang kind of being famous now. He is a famous Avenger, so his life is a little bit different after Avengers Endgame. Rightfully so, he did help save the entire universe. And what's interesting is the trailer opens up with dialogue from Kang stating, "You're an Avenger." But interestingly enough, the second thing he says is, "You have a daughter." It then shows Scott checking his phone. He is getting a call from his daughter, Cassie Lang, but notice it's still a picture of her as a baby. Now we know from Avengers Endgame, thanks to the 5-year gap, when Scott saw her last time, she was very grown up, as she is in this trailer. In fact, she is calling him because she's in jail and she needs her dad to come bail her out. But he keeps that picture because that's kind of the daughter that he knew. He lost 5 years with his daughter, which is what Kang is actually referring to with his dialogue here when he says, "You have a daughter, but you've lost a lot of time like me."
He was a jailbird beforehand.
Like means in just a bit, but first let's talk about Scott losing a lot of time. Of course, it's referring to that 5-year gap. Now, unfortunately, during that 5-year gap, Cassie didn't have a father. And we know, thanks to some plot details that have gone around about this movie, that Cassie is kind of getting in trouble, as we can see in this, because she went to jail. And Scott is desperately trying to make up for the time that he lost with her when he was stuck inside of the quantum realm for 5 years. And Scott is trying to make up for that time, which is why Kang says we can help each other with that. We then see footage of Scott and Cassie being sucked inside of the quantum realm, but we also know, thanks to the first trailer that came out, not only them got sucked in, but of course Janet Van Dyne, Hank Pym, and the Wasp get sucked in as well. This is due to a device that Cassie has created that allows them to communicate with people inside of the quantum realm. They sent down a message and ended up getting sucked in, so now they're all stuck. This is where Scott meets Kang. And this is where Kang's proposition comes in. Of course, Scott does not know who Kang the Conqueror is. It's just a random person that he's met inside of the quantum realm. Scott asks, "Who are you?" In which Kang replies, "I'm the man who can give you the one thing you want. Time." Now, Kang the Conqueror in the comics is a time traveler. He is the master of time. He's conquered endless worlds using time travel. But not just worlds in our universe, worlds in other universes as well. And that is essentially what Kang the Conqueror wants, to conquer the entire multiverse. But due to the fact that Kang can time travel and he can actually travel through different universes is why he is so dangerous. And we actually hear Janet Van Dyne talk about how dangerous he actually is. She says he can rewrite existence and shatter timelines. Now, she knows who he is because she was stuck in the quantum realm for many years. Up until Scott and Hank and the Wasp rescued her. But due to her being stuck for many years, she ran into Kang the Conqueror. This is why she knows about how powerful he is. So Kang the Conqueror can use time travel to go back at any point in time, in any different timeline, in any different universe, and essentially rewrite history or completely destroy a timeline, much like the TVA did. The TVA would go into timelines that were branched out and they would destroy them. But remember, He Who Remains, who is a variant of Kang, created the TVA. So Kang has the ability to completely destroy timelines. However, he also has the ability to rewrite them. And this is what is appealing to Scott. Kang is going to lie to Scott and tell him that if he helps him, he can give him back time, the time that he missed with his daughter during the blip, which Scott desperately wants. This is also why Scott says, I don't care who he is, I've just lost so much, he can give us a second chance. And of course, that second chance is not only the time that he missed with his daughters, but also the time that he missed with Hank and Janet and Hope, the people that he loves. He wants that time back. Now, during this dialogue, we get a look at Kang's city, which is called Chronopolis in the comics. Now, what's really interesting is that in the comics, Chronopolis exists outside of space and time.
Just like Brainiac cities.
Does. This is actually why Kang chooses to build his base inside of the quantum realm. Because through the quantum realm, he can travel through any point in time, which is why he chose to establish his base here. Now, if you notice, a lot of the city, a lot of its buildings and platforms seem to be in a circular shape. They almost look like gears of a clock, resembling time. You'll also notice that these rings and the markings on these rings look very familiar as well. In fact, they look like the 10 rings from Shang-Chi and the Legend of the 10 Rings. In the post-credit scene of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the 10 Rings, Wong was investigating the rings. Bruce Banner and Carol Danvers were also looking at them, trying to figure out where they came from. And they said that it's alien. It doesn't seem like it's from Earth. However, it could be from Earth, but a Earth from another universe, or the same Earth from the future. But it is believed that the Mandarin, Shang-Chi's father, could have possibly gotten the rings from Kang. However he got them, it does seem to be Kang technology. The same goes with Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel's bangle. And since the whole entire saga is about Kang, all these mystical and magical items are eventually going to come together when we finally get the Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars. Now, Janet is absolutely terrified of Kang because she knows what he can do, and she says, you cannot trust this man. However, Scott pretty much says, I don't care who he is, it seems like he can give me back what I lost. Time with my daughter, time with Hope, time with you. So at first, Scott is going to agree to try and help Kang. Now, as far as why, we'll talk about that in just a second, but first let's check out this scene that is super, super interesting. We see Ant-Man kind of split into two here. And this is super interesting because it looks like it's creating a variant on the spot. Yeah. Now, typically we have variants because the multiverse exists inside of the MCU. Therefore, different Earths exist. Therefore, different variants of the same character exist. But we've never seen anybody split in half before. Now, I'm sure we're going to speculate and theorize a lot on what could actually be happening, but just given this first look that we got here, I think Scott splits in half because time sort of splits in half through him. Because remember from Avengers Endgame, Tony Stark said that you could send time through a person instead of sending a person through time. Therefore, I believe that two Scotts could have been created based off of how time works inside of the quantum realm. We've heard that many times. We've heard it from Janet and Scott say time works differently in the quantum realm. I believe that these are going to be Scotts who are going down different paths inside of the quantum realm. This is how we're going to get, it looks like, thousands of different Ant-Mans. And it looks like, sadly, a few of them, if not many of them, are not going to be making it out alive. So we will see Ant-Man die in this movie. We've actually already seen a variant of Ant-Man die, much like, as I've been saying, Reed Richards of the Illuminati and Multiverse of Madness. But I'm assuming we're going to see a lot of other different variants of Ant-Man die as well. However, I'm hoping our main variant of Ant-Man stays alive. Now, as to why Kang needs Ant-Man's help, well, that is because this Kang is actually a variant of Kang. And most likely not the one who is in charge of this big city that we see. Based off of what we know about the plot for this movie, there's going to be at least two Kangs, and one of them is going to be stuck inside of the quantum realm with no way to get out, which is why this Kang says, you've lost a lot of time, so have I. This is because he is stranded inside of the quantum realm because he does not have a power source for his time chair. Now, in the comics, Kang's time chair is his time travel device. It's how he goes through different timelines into different universes. So Kang is stranded inside of the quantum realm. And based off of what we know, the only way he can get out is if he gets a power source to power his chair, and he needs to steal that from his other variant, who is essentially the ruler of the quantum realm, the person in charge of this huge city. It's essentially a heist, a robbery, which is why Ant-Man is perfect. That is what he used to do when he was a criminal. However, Kang doesn't exactly give him a choice. He tells Ant-Man, let me make this easy for you. You will bring me what I need, referring to the power source, or everything you call life, will end. So Scott really doesn't have much of a choice, because as you can tell here from the trailer, Kang is extremely powerful and could pretty much wipe Ant-Man away, easily. So Ant-Man decides to kind of trust him because he wants time back, but then of course Kang being the villain will end up betraying him, which is why we hear Ant-Man say, "We had a deal." Now there are 3 more very important parts of this trailer that we need to talk about, the first one being MODOK. The first time we see him, he's actually kind of hidden in the back, and we see him without any type of shielding over his face. If you freeze frame at 57 seconds in the trailer, you can clearly see him.
Yeah.
And as you can tell, he is working for Kang. However, you probably know who MODOK actually is. They are changing this from the comics. This is actually Darren Cross from the very first Ant-Man movie, otherwise known as the villain Yellow Jacket. At the end of Ant-Man, we knew that he pretty much got sent inside of the quantum realm. And from there, somehow, he is turned into MODOK, which is an acronym that stands for Mechanized Organism Designed Only for Killing. And if you freeze frame at 57 seconds, like I said, you could take a look at his face, and it does look like Darren Cross. But we also get another look at him in 1 minute 45 seconds. And we can see him in full armor, all decked out. And I gotta say, I was kind of worried about the design. However, after seeing him without the helmet on, without the armor on, he looks great. He looks like the comic accurate MODOK. And then when he puts the armor on, he looks insanely menacing, like a true villain. So I'm actually liking this. But hey, let me know what you think down below. Now, the second important thing we have to finish off with is this so-called power source that Scott is trying to take. Now, first of all, it looks like him and a bunch of these other variants that are probably going to be created while he is inside of the quantum realm. It looks like they're all trying to get it together. But there are a couple of things to notice about this. We saw the power source in the very first trailer. We saw Kang put it inside of some device. It could have actually been one of the guns that he uses. However, it does look like Kang the Conqueror has a giant power source that he uses to power his entire city. And I believe this is what we are seeing that is kind of floating in the air that has all of the rings circling around it. This seems to be what the giant ant pile is trying to grab. And it looks massive, but if you notice, at the 120 mark, Scott is holding his arm up to it like he is about to fire a pen disc at it. This would in turn shrink the power source so Ant-Man could grab it and take it back to the other Kang. Or
look at all those Ant-Mans.
He's already realized that the variant of Kang is
the
evil.
ants are Ant-Mans
to stop him. But this could actually be the very specific reason that Kang needs him to steal it. Because the power source is huge, and this stranded Kang might not have the technology to shrink it down. However, Ant-Man does. He has the pen disc that can shrink it. But the part 2 to this is I think that these other Ant-Man variants might actually turn on him. As soon as he gets the disc, I think they're going to want it for themselves, because if they are any type of variant of him, they're going to think the same way. Which is why I believe that we are seeing all of these Ant-Mans pile on top of him. But of course, the last thing that we have to talk about is how insanely awesome and powerful Kang really is. Now, in the beginning, we see Kang with a helmet on, with a mask on, and that mask covers him, and he looks blue, much like Kang does in the comics. Now, this is armor that he has actually designed off of Dr. Doom's armor. In the comics, after going backwards in time to ancient Egypt and being defeated by the Fantastic Four, he then goes to the 20th century where he actually meets Dr. Doom. And depending on which storyline you go by in the comics, he could actually be an ancestor of Dr. Doom himself. But his Centurion armor is based off of Dr. Doom. It's incredibly powerful and pretty much impenetrable. Because you see, the reason Kang is so powerful isn't because he himself actually has any type of powers naturally. The reason he is so powerful is essentially because he is the master of time travel. He can go to different points in time, past, present, but most importantly, future, and take all of their technology. Any type of advanced weaponry, he can take. So he has essentially turned time travel into tech that he can use to control time. We saw this in Loki. We saw He Who Remains know every attack from Loki and Sylvie, so he would use the device on his arm to avoid them and essentially teleport. So through his technology, he has amazing abilities. In the comics, Kang's technology is actually from the 40th century, so hundreds of years in the future. And Kang is actually a genius himself. So he uses all of this technology to basically be able to control time. And on top of that, the technology that he has gives him incredible strength, the ability to harness and use energy as a weapon. Plus, not to mention, it can create a force field around him that is basically impenetrable. He can create holograms with this technology as well. And to top it all off, his technology can also control other technology. And to really top it all off, he is an expert in hand-to-hand combat. We see that at the end here, Kang is really, really whooping on Ant-Man. And we see him put him in an arm lock, a headlock, and basically just beats him down. He even kicks him in the head, crushing his helmet. So he's pretty much really hard to beat. Plus, not to mention in the comics, he can transfer his consciousness into another body of his, a different variant of his. So you kind of really can't kill him, which is what I'm assuming is kind of going to happen here at the end of this movie. So he's basically unbeatable, which is why Kang says, you thought you could win. But it looks like Ant-Man has a plan because he says, I don't have to win, we both just have to lose. This we will definitely be coming up with some theories about, so be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of those videos. And in the meantime, let me know what you thought about this trailer. I thought it was amazing. Well, leave your thoughts and comments down below. And of course, if you caught anything you think we might have missed, leave that in the comments as well. You can always follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and as always, thank you all so much for watching.
I tell you this, I think that this movie is going to bother me. I think that, especially if he dies, it's going to bother me, like, emotionally. Not, like, you know, not just the whole, you know, killing off all the normal Avengers and replacing them. Not just that. Like, mainly because I really like him. It's going to bother me. And then the fact that Guardians of the Galaxy, James Gunn already said it's going to be sad, basically. I'm just like, man, what's this? You know what I mean? What's going on here? I don't need all this damn anguish in my life, especially what's going on with Marvel and DC right now. I want all my entertainment to be good and make me happy. Not good and sad. I need good and happy right now. Things can be good and sad. Infinity War was good and sad. Okay? But I need good and happy right now. Shit. Post comments down below. Let me know what you all think about this. Make sure you go over to Cosmic Wonder, subscribe, tell them Tyrone Magnus sent you, and you enjoyed my reaction and thoughts. Hit the like button, subscribe, and share. 10 million subscribers. Woo!